Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This is Aakhirusamaan Talks. This program is usually presented in Somali language, but today we are going to attempt to do it in English for the benefit of the larger ummah. So please bear with us. What we are going to talk about today is the DAJJAL's time. Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam told us that when the DAJJAL is released, his first day would be like a year, and his second day would be like a month, and his third day would be like a week, and the rest of his days would be like our days. Meaning that the DAJJAL would go 3 different stages before he is able to enter into this universe. Meaning that we would not see the DAJJAL when he is in his first, second and third day. That we would only be able to see the DAJJAL in his physical form when he is in a day like our day. So knowing that, we can conclude that the DAJJAL's time differs from our time. Sheikh Imran Hussein says, using the Quran and the Ahadith, that the DAJJAL was released in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If that is the case, when might the Antichrist be seen in this world? When we are more likely to see the DAJJAL in his physical form? We are going to attempt to get a rough guide for that question. And to do that, we are going to do some calculations. We are going to do this in 2 separate ways. So I am going to do now the first way. What we're going to do first is, if the DAJJAL was released in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, that means the DAJJAL already started his first day, like a year. So if that is the case, when the DAJJAL actually started his first day, so I would use a date, and I would use that date to mean the start of the first day of the DAJJAL. So I'm going to use 632 as the start of the first day of the DAJJAL. The reason why I am using this year or this date is because this date was when Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was given his last sermon. So this was the farewell sermon. So we are saying at that time Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam knew that the DAJJAL was already released into the world, meaning the DAJJAL already started his first day. So if the DAJJAL started his first day 632, when his first day ended. We're saying his first day ended in 1914. And why is that? The reason is, this is the year the US dollar as we know it was printed. And just before that, in 1913, US Federal Bank was established. In this year, the British authorities took a loan from the US government, and that was the start of the collapse of the British money, and this was the start of the US dollar as the dominant money in the world. So we are taking this year to be the end of the first day of the child. Well, now then, if this is the end of the first day of the child, and this is the start of the first day of the child, what we are going to calculate is how long was the first day of the child. So to find out how long was the first day of DAJJAL, all we have to do is 1914 minus 632, and we are going to get 1282 years. So as you can see, the first day of the child, the day that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said it would be like a year, was 1282 years. So if that is a day like a year, if 1282 years is like a day like a year, how long is his month? All we have to do now again is divide 1282 into 12 months, and we are going to get 106.8 years. If we round that, we are going to get 107 years. Now we know how long the second day of the child would be. So if 107 years is like a day like a month, how long a day like a week would be? To get that, all we have to do is 107 divided by 4, and we are going to get 26.75 years. To round that, we are going to get 27 years. So now we know how long the third day of the child would be, and that is 27 years. Knowing this now, what we are going to do is to find out when his second day ended and when his third day is going to end, and then from there we would know when we would be able roughly to see the child. Before that, we cannot just say, oh, the first day of the child was 5,000 years, for instance, and his second day would be 3,000. We can't do that. The reason why, we know that the month is a fixed time from the year, and the week is a fixed time from the month. So it should be a fixed percentage. And to get that, what we are going to do is, if 1 month divided by 12 months is going to give us 0.083, we're going to stop at 3 decimal places. If we multiply that by 100, we are going to get 8.3%. So that is the percentage of a month from the year. So the month should always be that percentage. It can't be, whatever number it could be. So taking that into account, if the child year was 1282, the month of the child was 107. 107 divided by 1282 should give us exactly that percentage. So to do that, all we have to do is divide this number to this number, and we are going to get 0.0833, and it goes on. Multiply that by 100, and that would give us 8.3%. If a month is divided by 4 weeks, if one as a month divided by 4, meaning weeks, would give us 0.25. Multiply that by 100, that will give us 25%. So a week is 25% from a month. If we already know how long the child's month would be, we could then therefore, as we already did it, get how long his week would be. But his week should not be any number, it should be the same percentage as the normal week. So the child's week should give us the same percent as here. So if 107 is the child's month and 27 is the child's week, 27 divided by 107 should give us that kind of percentage, and this would give us 0.25. It goes on, multiply that by 100, we're going to get 25%. So the week of the child is roughly 25% from his month, and the month of the child is roughly 8.3% from his year. So we now know that the first day of the Dajjal ended in 1914. This was the end of the first day of the Dajjal, but this was also the start of the second day of the Dajjal. So if this was the start of the second day of the Dajjal, so if this was also the start of the second day of the Dajjal, what we are trying to find out is when the Dajjal's second day is going to end. So all we have to do, because we already calculated how long the Dajjal's second day is, and we know that now it is 107 years. All we have to do is we add that to the start, and we are going to get OT 21. So basically the Dajjal's first day ended in 1914. At that same year, it was also the start of his second day. And because we already know that the Dajjal's second day is 107 years, all we have to do is just add that to the start of the second day, and we are going to get 2021. So the Dajjal's second day is going to end at 21, just after this year. So the Dajjal's second day is going to end after this year. So you could see the coronavirus and all this happening now is going to act to make that transition. So if 2021 this year is the end of the second day of the Dajjal, and also this year would act the start of the third day of the Dajjal. So if this is also the start of the third day of the Dajjal, and we already calculated that the Dajjal's third day is 27 years, when his third day is going to end. To answer that, all we have to do is 2021 plus 27 years, and what we are going to get is 20448. So we are going to say now that we are more likely to see the Dajjal after 28 years. Basically 2048, that is when we are more likely to see the Dajjal. And from that year, and from that we could say we are more likely to see the Dajjal after 28 years. We are more likely to see the Dajjal in 2048. So this was one way of doing it. And we could take the year of 2048 as the earliest we could see the child. Allahu Ya'lam, but that is a rough guidance. But if we say the first day of the child ended in 1945. If we take this as the end of the first day of the child, all we have to do now is take away 632 from here, and we're going to get 1313 years. So you could see in this calculation, the year of the child is longer than the one that we calculated before. And I've said that we're doing this in two ways. So this time, if the year of the child is 1313 years, how long is his month and how long is his week? All we have to do again is divide this 1313 into 12, and we are going to get 109.4, and it keeps going to round that years. To round that, we are going to get 109 years. So now we know in this second calculation that the DAJJAL year is this long and that his month is this long. So if the DAJJAL's month is this long, how long is his week? All we have to do is divide this number by 4, and we are going to get 27.25. And to round that, we are going to get 27 years. His third day is 27 years from this calculation. So if we already know now this, all we have to do is calculate when the child's second day is going to end and when his third day is going to end, so then we can get a rough calculation of when we are going to expect to see the child. So if 1945 was the end of the first day of the child, this would also be the start of the second day of the child. So if that is the case, all we are going to add is, we now have calculated in this calculation, in this second calculation, that the child's year is 1313 years, and that the child's month is 109 years. So all we're going to add is 109 years, and we're going to get 2054. This would be the end of the second day of the child. This is the start of the second day of the child, and now we know how long is the child's month. We simply added that, and then this would be 2054 would be the end of the second day of the child. So if this is now is the end of the child's second day, and we have already calculated that the child's week in the second calculation is 27 years. All we are going to do is add that to here. So if we add 2054 plus 27 years, we are going to get 2081. So 2081 is the end. 2081 is the end of the third day of the child, because this year also acts as the start of the third day, and this year will then act as the end of the third day of the child. Meaning, if the child's third day ends at 2081, we would be able to see the child 2081. Meaning, we will see the child 2081. That is when we would be able to see the Antichrist. Basically, after 61 years. So we could say 2048 would be the earliest that we would expect the child, and 2081 would be the latest. And the reason why these two dates differ is whichever date you choose to be the end date of the first day of the child, that would then change the date of the appearance. And that is basically what happened here, because in the first calculation, all we did was we took 1914 to be the end date for the first day of the child. And the reason why was because that was when the plan first started. So we took that as the start of the second day of the child, and also as the end of the first day of the child. That by doing that, we came to this, that the child would appear roughly in around 2048. Take away 2 years or add 2 more years, roughly around that, the child may appear in 2047, 46, and 48, 49, and so on, in between those numbers. That is the first calculation. In the second calculation, all we did was we changed the end of the first day, and we said the first day of the child ended 1945, and that gave us that the child would now then appear around 2081. So you would expect that the child would appear 2080, 2082, and 2081, and so on, in between those years. So all we did now is to give you a rough guide of when you would expect the child. So what we're saying is the earliest that you could expect to see the child would be around this time. You would expect the child in 28 years time, in 27 years time. That is when you would expect to see the child. That is the earliest. And in here, what we are saying is, in the second calculation, that you would roughly see the child after 60 years. Both calculations are correct, and it depends on your opinion and where you stand on the end of the first day of the child. Wallahu ya'lam. In both scenarios, we were trying to give you a rough guide of when we are about to expect the child. This is in no way telling the exact date that the child would appear. Having said so, you could do research of what is going to happen in those two dates. What are the Dajjalic predictions? What they say is going to happen. And you would notice somewhere around 2048 or 2050 that they would be able to create the perfect artificial intelligence, meaning basically the child. So you would see they have in their manifesto to create or to be able to create the first artificial intelligence, the perfect one as they call it, somewhere around in this time, meaning that the child would appear around this time. So that is just one theory. Again, you need to go on now and research whether it's this one or this one, and both of them is, as I said before, is giving you a rough guide and is in no way telling you the exact date of the child's appearance, because the exact date of the child's appearance, that only Allah will know that, and only Allah will answer that. We would never know that, and nobody can claim to know that. And I'm not saying that, I'm not claiming that. All we are doing is to give you a rough guidance of when we are more likely to see the child. That will now conclude our lecture today.